Caviar,
Yeah.
and a stock market surge. Okay, now that's a combo you don't hear every day, right? But hey, that's the market for y'all, always keeping us on our toes.
Yeah.
So today we're going to dive into this whole caviar thing, see if we can fish out of this whole thing.
And to help us navigate these interesting waters, we're using something a little more, well, how do I put it? A little more, I guess, specialized than your typical financial news.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at barchart.com.
Okay.
So this is like the real deal. You know, you want to get into market data, signals, trends. This is where you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got this caviar company, right? It's called TWG.
Right.
And their stock is going through the roof, all because they announced a share offering. And now everyone is talking about it. So what is the deal with a share offering anyway?
So basically a share offering, it's when a company decides, hey, let's sell a bit more of ownership in the company.
Yeah.
And they do this through stock to the public. Now, usually they're doing this to raise some cash, fuel expansion, maybe start some new projects, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it can also be kind of I guess you could say a power move. Like they're signaling to the market that they're feeling really confident. Like,
Cool.
hey, we're going to do great things. Get on board.
So they're putting it all out there. Like, hey, come on, jump in. And people are buying it, clearly. Hence the whole stock surge thing.
Exactly.
But okay, how does this affect the average investor? Like you or me. Should we be ditching everything and like stocking up on caviar?
Whoa, hold on now. It's not really about the caviar itself.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we're trying to see the bigger picture here. We're interested in those market trends, the investor psychology behind it all. This whole caviar situation is just it's like our entry point.
As case study?
Yeah, exactly. Our delicious, expensive case study.
Right. I like that. Yeah, got to look beyond just the surface. Speaking of which, I noticed Barchart tracks all kinds of stuff. Things like unusual options activity and IV rank. It's like a whole different language.
Yeah, I can see how it can seem kind of intimidating. But trust me, these are really useful insights. They tell you way more than just the stock price.
Okay, so break it down for me. What's the big deal with unusual options activity, for instance?
Okay, so think of it this way. Options trading, it's a bit more, I guess you'd say, risky than regular stock trading.
Okay.
So it tends to attract investors who are, let's just say, a little more experienced. They're making bigger bets. So when you see unusual activity in options for a specific stock, like a crazy spike in volume, that could mean that these big players, the ones with deep pockets and maybe a little inside knowledge, are seeing something that others aren't.
Wait, so you're saying just by looking at this options activity, we can, like, predict what the big investors are going to do? That's like, I don't know, having a superpower or something.
Well, it's not a surefire thing, of course, but it can be really useful, yeah. Like, imagine a signal flare. It goes up, and other investors, even the little guys, they're going to take notice. It doesn't mean you should just blindly follow, but it's something to think about, for sure.
So it's like we're getting a little sneak peek, right, into the minds of these market movers, seeing what they're interested in.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of brings us back to our caviar thing. Remember, it's not about, like, the actual caviar. It's about what this whole surge might tell us about, the market as a whole.
The trends.
Yeah, the trends. So, for example, some analysts are saying that when the economy is a bit uncertain, people who invest, they might see luxury items as like a safer bet, instead of something like tech stocks.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Okay, so we've got this caviar company. Their stock is going crazy. And this could be, like you said, a part of this bigger trend where investors they're turning to luxury goods kind of as a safe place to put their money. My mind is officially blown. Are there other, like, I don't know, sectors, industries that tend to do well when that happens?
Well, historically, like basic consumer stuff, that usually does okay, even during a downturn. We're talking like essentials, groceries, utilities, healthcare, that kind of thing.
Right, things people always need.
Exactly. Those things, they're usually seen as, not as risky. They tend to be more resilient. When the market is going up and down, they're not as affected.
Okay, so if we're like connecting the dots here, we could say that even though this caviar company seems kind of, niche,
Right.
it could actually be a tiny piece of a much, much bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it so important to keep an eye on these things, even if they seem kind of random at first. It's like those, what are they called? Those puzzles where you connect the dots.
Oh, yeah.
Each dot by itself. Doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
But you start connecting them. You get a clearer picture of what's really going on.
I like that. Okay, speaking of connecting the dots, let's get back to bar chart for a sec.
Sure.
I gotta be honest, even with everything you've said, I still feel kind of overwhelmed. There's just like so much information on there.
Ugh.
It's a lot. Where do you even begin? Like for someone who's maybe feeling a little lost in all this data, what would you recommend?
Oh, I totally get it. It's like, imagine a giant library, right? Millions of books, but no system, no way to find anything.
Yeah, that sounds stressful.
The key is to avoid that information overload. Don't try to take it all in at once. Instead, figure out what you're really interested in, what your goals are, for investing.
So instead of trying to be an expert in everything, just like focus on what actually matters to me.
Right. So maybe you're interested in, I don't know, renewable energy or AI, artificial intelligence, or maybe you're more into stocks that pay dividends.
Okay.
Once you know what you're looking for, you can narrow things down and focus on the indicators that are actually useful to you.
So it's about being more like, I guess, strategic with my research, kind of like making my own little treasure map.
Yes, I love that. Think of it like creating your own news feed, but for finance. Pick a few good sources, like bar chart. Concentrate on the data that fits your goals. And don't be afraid to try out different tools and stuff. See what works for you.
So I noticed bar chart has these sections like bar chart trade picks and a futures trading guide.
Hmm.
Is that like only for the pros? Or can someone like me, a newbie, check those out too?
No, bar chart is designed for all kinds of investors, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing it for years.
Okay.
They have stuff for everyone. The most important thing is to know your own, risk tolerance and what you want to get out of it, in the long run.
It's like building my own like custom setup, filtering out all the noise and just getting the important stuff.
Exactly. And the more you use these tools, the easier it gets to really understand what the market's doing.
This has been amazing. I feel like I've gone from like Caviar 101 to, I don't know, Market Trends 201. And it all started with this one kind of quirky story.
It really does show you. Sometimes the things you'd least expect, they can teach you the most.
And those lessons, you can find them in the weirdest places. Like, who knew a website all about market data would be so, I don't know, fascinating?
Right. It's all about staying curious, asking those questions, and like we said, connecting those dots.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being our guide on this deep dive. You've given us a lot to think about.
Happy to do it. Don't forget, knowledge is power, right? Especially with this stuff.
So true. So we saw how a caviar company, TWG, saw this like huge stock surge, all because of how the market was feeling and, some financial stuff. But what other kind of niche things are out there that maybe, I don't know, have some hidden opportunities for investors? What do you think? Vintage sneakers, rare minerals. The possibilities are like endless, right? Head on over to barchart.com. We'll put the link in the show notes and see what you can find. What's out there, what's trending. You just never know what you might discover. Until next time, happy investing.